But I did fall back from dealing with that guy. They did end up going to jail, and a bunch of people actually told on each other when it comes to that deal, that best friend thing. But I did fall back from this guy. And people used to often ask me, why didn't I go to jail with these guys? Well, like I said, you deal with them and I'll deal with you. That's how that deal went. Like, I didn't hang out with those guys. I didn't exchange anything with those guys. And I don't know why he didn't snitch on me, because he definitely could have. But I did fall back at that particular time from dealing with this guy, not knowing that he was considered a snitch. So yeah, I did fall back from that and did let that go. But I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming in. I try to respond to some of them on the videos, and I also be chatting back and forth with people in the comments section. So go ahead and leave your comments down there, and I really appreciate it. This video, Family Cartels Part 3, is a continuation of my Family Cartels series. It's where I talk about how family members are able to build an empire. And this episode is going to be kind of interesting. The Origina brothers, Flannery brothers, and the Powell brothers. Gilberto and Miguel ran one of the biggest cocaine operation cartels in the history of the cocaine business, the Cali Cartel. The Cali Cartel was a drug cartel based in Southern Colombia around the city of Cali and Valle del Cauca department. Its founders were the brothers Gilberto Rodriguez Origela and Miguel Rodriguez Origela and Jose Santa Cruz Londono. They broke away from Pablo Escobar and his Medellin associates in the late 1980s when Helmer Pancho Herrera joined what became a four-man executive board that ran the cartel. At the height of the Cali Cartel's reign from 1993 to 1995, they were cited as having control over 80% of the world's cocaine market, and they were said to be directly responsible for the growth of the cocaine market in Europe, controlling 80% of the market there as well. By the mid-1990s, the Cali Cartel's international drug trafficking empire was a $7 billion a year criminal enterprise. $7 billion a year. And a lot of that money come out of the black community. A lot of our guys that come from our communities help contribute to those profits. And I got a video coming up soon. It's called Black Cocaine, the Black Dollar. And we're going to follow the dollar when it comes to the cocaine business, the crack business. Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel was considered to be the biggest, and they probably the most popular out of the cocaine business. He had a real big network when it comes to that business, and Cali Cartel, these guys became bitter rivals. Where the Medellin cartel controlled the northern part of Colombia, and the Cali Cartel controlled the southern part of Colombia. And we're talking about from the manufacturing standpoint, because that's where they manufacture this drug at. So America is considered the biggest consumers of cocaine in the world. It costs absolutely $0 to harvest coca leaves, and it drives the prices up all the way up to $20,000 per kilo once it gets to its final destination. The Cali Cartel was formed by the brothers and Santa Cruz, all coming from what is described as a higher social background than most other traffickers at the time. The assembled group first involved itself in trafficking marijuana due to the profit's low profit rate and large amounts required to traffic. To cover resources, the fledgling group decided to shift their focus to more lucrative drug, cocaine. In the early 1970s, the cartel sent Helmer to New York City to establish a distribution center during a time when the United States DEA viewed cocaine as less important than heroin. Yeah, during the 1970s, cocaine was looked at as a party drug. It's the disco era, and people were into psychedelic drugs at that time. And cocaine was one of those things people used to party off of. It's usually considered a rich man's high, or a person had to have money in order to get high off cocaine. So it was like a high-end type drug. That's why it became popular in the beginning when they created crack. Crack didn't have that initial effect that it became because people in Hollywood was using crack. People in the hood, they couldn't afford crack at that particular time. The Cali Cartel will become known for its innovations in trafficking and production by moving its refining operations out of Colombia to Peru and Bolivia, as well as for pioneering new trafficking routes through Panama. That's where Noriega come in at. I will be talking about him as well on my Black Cocaine episode, which is coming soon. In order to launder the incoming money of the trafficking operations, the Cali Cartel heavily invested its funds into legitimate business ventures as well as front companies to mask the money. There are a lot of businesses too. There are a lot of legitimate businesses. I guess they use a lot of the proceeds to invest into these businesses, but they had a lot of businesses, successful businesses too. One of the brothers even owned a bank in Panama. Yeah, these guys was breaking the bank, and they were able to afford to hire small militaries or rebels to protect their empire. And they got into this vicious war with Pablo Escobar. And if you read some of the stories or look at some of the stories as it relates to Escobar, he had a massive ego. Quite naturally, he wanted to control the entire market. Political violence was largely discounted by the Cali Cartel as the threat of violence often surfaced. The organization or the cartel was structured so that only people who had family in Colombia would handle operations that involved both Cali and U.S. sites, keeping the family within reach of the cartel. Family members became the cartel's insurance that its members would not assist government officials, nor would they refuse payment for products received. The threat of death also hung over those who made mistakes. It is believed that the cartel will often kill junior members who made gross errors. Yeah, when you got a business like that, violence it just comes with the territory. You got to put fear in people. You got to show people, you got to impose your will on people so they won't test you or packages won't come up missing. Everybody be trying to have their hands in the pot. So, these cartels will cut your hands off. In the 1980s and the early 1990s, the communist guerrillas struck at the drug cartels. In 1981, the then guerrilla group M19 kidnapped Marta Ochoa, the sister of the Medellin cartel's Ochoa brothers. M19 demanded a ransom of $15 million for Marta's safe release, but were rejected. In response to the kidnapping, the Medellin and Cali Cartel, as well as associated traffickers, formed the group MAS. Traffickers contributed funds, rewards, equipment, and manpower for mass operations. Like I said, these guys are making so much money, they was able to hire their own little smaller army. And these guys went to war when it comes to that. They had a real war going on over there. And besides Pablo's war with the Cali Cartel, he was fighting the government of Colombia. And like I said, a lot of that money come from out of our hoods. Like, we helping these people with these wars. MAS began to capture and torture M19 members in retaliation. Within 3 days, Marta was released. The group MAS, however, will continue to operate with hundreds of killings attributed to them. There was a lot of murders going on down there in Colombia. It's a lot worse than our hoods, and it's destruction in our hood. And just think about down there. And then a country like Colombia, it's considered a poor country. These cities where all this stuff is happening at, where they manufacturing and becoming these multi-billionaires out of this trade. In the general consensus, those cities are considered poor. That's why so many people down there get into farming, and you got a lot of smaller people that manufacture and sell kilos of this stuff. So, it's just a way how people can eat down there. During the narco-terror war waged by Pablo Escobar on the Colombian government, it is believed a hired assassin attempting to kill Herrera while he was attending a sports event. The gunman opened fire using a machine gun on the crowd where Herrera was sitting, killing 19. However, he did not hit Herrera. Herrera is believed to have been founding member of Los Pepes, a group which operated alongside authorities with the intention of killing or capturing Escobar. So these guys, they talking about all this snitching and all this type stuff. These guys who was running one of the biggest cartels in the history of cocaine is helping them capture Escobar. And they did that, and they actually killed Escobar, which gave them free reins to operate their business because their biggest competitor is gone. But it didn't work for them because they end up getting raided and getting catching some cases and doing a long time in prison. Like, them guys did a really long time. They were already older gentlemen. Between June and July 1995, the remaining 6 of the 7 heads of the cartel were arrested. Gilberto was arrested in his home. Londoño was captured in a restaurant, and a month later, Miguel was apprehended during a raid. It is widely believed that the cartel continued to operate and run trafficking operations from within prison. That's a natural progression. If they go to prison, that operation is too large not for them not to run it behind bars. They definitely was running it behind bars. The Rodriguez brothers were extradited in 2006 to the United States and pleaded guilty in Miami, Florida to charges of conspiracy to import cocaine in the United States. Upon their confession, they agreed to forfeit $2.1 billion in assets. The agreement, however, did not require them to cooperate in other investigations. They were solely responsible for identification of assets stemming from their cocaine trafficking. Colombian officials raided and seized the pharmacy chain, replacing 50 of its 4,200 workers on the ground that they were serving the interests of the Cali Cartel. Yeah, they owned a lot of pharmacies down there. So, and it's just what I said about this business right here. You're invested in assets, but the government can come take all that. But these is one of the biggest organizations out there besides the Medellin cartel. They was their biggest rivals, and they was getting money. It's a family cartel. I gotta build this business with my brother. Like I said, a lot of families, they build empires. It's a messed up thing, but it is what it is. A lot of these families live good off that business. And as the Caribbean trafficking came to an end, and they shut Miami down because Miami was one of the biggest hubs in the country for distributing cocaine. A lot of it went through those islands down in the Caribbean. A lot of that stuff switched to the Mexicans, and that's where you bring in groups like the Black Mafia family with Big Meech and Southwest T, a pair of brothers from Detroit, Michigan. A lot of dealers out there, they do it big, they be very popular, but I gotta say this group right here probably is the most popular. Big Meech really put BMF on the map. Like, everybody in the world knows about BMF. The Black Mafia family was founded in 1989 in Detroit by brothers Demetrius Big Meech Flannery and Terry Southwest T Flannery, and by 2000 had established cocaine distribution sales throughout the United States through their Los Angeles-based drug source and direct links to Mexican drug cartels. As I said, it became a case, during the 80s, it was a big thing to have a Colombian connect, somebody that had a connection to Colombia. But all that stuff really started getting shut down and started switching to the Mexican cartels, because the Mexicans initially was used to smuggle the drugs into the United States, but they sort of took over that part of the game, and they said, instead of us moving this stuff for y'all, let us buy this stuff from y'all, buy what we need to, and we'll control everything. We'll get it into the United States. Y'all hold back, just sell us the stuff, and we'll take care of everything else. So it switched from having this Colombian connect to where you gotta have this Mexican connect, because that's who's running the game right now. It's not just about cocaine. Now they got many other drugs going on, marijuana, heroin, fentanyl, and that's just what it is. So the Black Mafia family operated from two main hubs, one in Atlanta for distribution run by Demetrius Flannery, and one in Los Angeles to handle incoming shipments from Mexico run by Terry Flannery. By 2000, the Flannery brothers had established a large organization overseeing multi-kilogram cocaine distribution sales in numerous U.S. states, including Alabama, California, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, and Tennessee. And a 2-year federal investigation of the Flannery organization estimated its nationwide membership as over 500. Around 2001, the organization experienced a schism when the Flannery brothers began to feud, with Terry moving to Los Angeles to head his own organization, while Demetrius remained at the main distribution center in Atlanta. By 2003, the two had been involved in a major falling out and rarely spoke to one another. In a conversation with his brothers caught on the DEA wiretap, Terry discussed his worries that his brother Demetrius was bringing the wrong type of attention to their business with his excessive partying. By the time charges were filed against the Flannerys, the government had 900 pages of typed transcript of wiretap conversations with Terry's phone in a 5-month period. And that's what ultimately brought the group down. With one of the main contributing factors. They had other situations where shipments was getting seized, people telling on other people, the typical thing when they bring on these continuing drug organization cases. Why Southwest T was complaining about Big Meech and all the attention, the flossing, the balling and all that. And actually it was his talking on the phone that helped bring that group down. It really wasn't about Big Meech's excessive partying, and he had his haters, the DA and people like that hated Big Meech. He was dealing with a lot of money. And, you hear all of the stories down there in Atlanta. I know a lot of people down there, it's a melting pot of people. I'm sure many of you guys in the audience know people down there in Atlanta. So as a matter of fact, click that subscribe button, family, click that like button and share this video. You would hear stories about them just coming in and just taking over the club, all the bread they were spending in these clubs, and one thing about running these super cliques and you got all this attention, and to some levels you putting fear in people, and you're known as the front man, you the one out in the front. The rest of your crew can go out there and get involved in a bunch of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with you, but everybody gonna blame you. It's guilty by association. You gotta take the blame for everything that your crew do. And some people can just get out of hand. They don't have no discipline because they think they're protected by the organization. But everything that your crew go out there and do, basically the responsibility of that will fall back on you. That's the bad thing about especially Big Meech's situation, because I think that contributed to these long prison sentences for him, because I don't think he should have got that much prison time for what he was doing. It's not like these guys was out there just murdering people and they just really surrounded by violence. 30 years is a long time for this guy to be in prison. In the early 2000s, Big Meech established BMF Entertainment as a promotion agency and record label for hip-hop music. The Flannery brothers were already known to associate with numerous high-profile hip-hop artists, including E40, Trina, T.I., Shawty Lo, Jay-Z, and Fabulous. He was one of those person people say that discovered Jeezy. So he had all these plugs with these rappers and all that, and he used to promote events down in Atlanta, and they were always big. So he knew all the rappers. He knew a lot of those rappers before they became stars. People like T.I. and Jeezy. He knew those guys before they became superstars. Big Meech founded BMF Entertainment as a front organization for money laundering the cash generated by the cocaine distribution network. but was also an attempt to create a legitimate business and legal source of income. Around this time, the Flannery organization formally adopted the name Black Mafia Family, as previously been unnamed. So they ain't had no name before that, but that's still bad because they can use that name against you in court. That's how they make your case so big, because it's like being a part of an organization, a part of a gang, and they look at you as the architect of the gang. So police investigation into the Black Mafia began sometime in the early 1990s, before the organization operated by Big Meech and Terry was named or reached peak distribution. So they were already on the radar of the DEA or the police before they became BMF. The lead up to the October 2005 indictments began with a series of large drug seizures and subsequent informant testimonies from BMF members. On October 28, 2003, a 2-year organized crime drug enforcement task force investigation began, coordinated by the DEA's Special Operations Division and codenamed Operation Motor City Mafia. A series of events happened with the operation and investigation. On April 11, 2004, a BMF courier and high-level distributor, Jabari Hayes, was pulled over in Phelps County, Missouri, along I-44, driving a 40-foot motorhome, supposedly for swerving over the fog line. 2 suitcases containing approximately 95 kilos of cocaine and 572 grams of marijuana were found in the back of the Range Rover after a K9 unit was alerted to the drugs in the vehicle. He got a documentary out there right now. I think it's kind of interesting what he went through. He didn't carry that image like the rest of those guys, trying to be the baller in the club or whatever, shining or whatever. He looked like more of a conservative type of guy. He carried himself with a lot of professionalism. But then again, it was a front to this business. So, but he got documentaries out there. There's another guy that was one of the guys that worked with that group. He got a book and stuff out. Like I said, this group right here was like probably the most popular drug organization. I really hate to say that, but it is what it is. A lot of people went down in these indictments. They started having all these arrests, and eventually the brothers pled guilty to running a continuing criminal enterprise. Welcome to the family business. Even though they got to a part where they separated and they were really feuding, I don't think it's to the point where they were trying to kill each other, but they really separated their operations. Terry didn't like how Big Meech was operating. He felt there was too much attention, but if he called himself laying low and under the radar, his stuff really helped bring that organization down. And then, according to his brother, Terry had all those amenities too. He had the nice cars. He was living a nice life, So, but yeah, welcome to the family business. Another situation where you have family members really building an empire, to where this BMF thing is in pop culture right now. I thought they were trying to put together a series for this. I thought 50 Cent, he may still have it on the floor. I don't know. We'll see. But I really think this guy should get out of prison. I don't think he should have got 30 years for this. It's just a shame that whatever your crew go out there and do, you get the blame for that, because you stood out there in front and center. You let the world know this is your clique and you're the leader, so all the blame goes on to you. And plus you got that tag with that BMF tag that helped with their case. It's just a fact. That's how they hit you with these continuing criminal enterprise things. They put you in these organizations, and then once it hit the media, they're gonna blow it up bigger than life, which assassinates the character of Big Meech. And he got caught up in a case where he killed the guy Wolf, who was P. Diddy's former bodyguard. And this guy Wolf was that guy that killed Suge Knight's friend, Big Jake, So, Big Wolf was a gunner, I believe they got into an argument over a stripper or something, or some woman Big Wolf was dating or liked, and he didn't like Big Meech dealing with her, And I spoke on that like in the Freaky Steve video. It's like Rockin' Reds killed this guy, and it's supposed to be all over a female when Steve probably give him a female. And the same thing with Big Meech. Man, I'd give you a female. Why you tripping over this girl? These guys really can have any woman that they want. They give you a female. But some people just can't take that. They take it to the other level, and it really shouldn't be like that. So I'm pretty sure Big Meech is not about to be arguing over no female. So he had to end up killing this dude. And Big Meech got shot as well. So he never got charged with the murder. He claimed self-defense on that. But it's the Flannery brothers doing it big. Another family empire. Family Cartels Part 3. Subscribe and share this video. Click the like button. Don't forget to leave comments down there. Now I got other episodes coming up too. I got a lot of content coming up, so be looking for that. Now we're going to take a look at the powerful Powell brothers. Carlos and Eric Powell. They were sentenced to life in prison after having been convicted of violating various federal drug laws in a massive drug ring that trafficked hundreds of kilograms of heroin and cocaine and thousands of pounds of marijuana in Metro Detroit, announced United States Attorney Barbara McQuaid. These guys are moving a lot of work, and this was in the 2000s. Like I said, man, the game keep moving forward. It's a revolving door. That's why I call this intervention and prevention. Try to stop young people from getting in this high risk, high reward business. And here these guys got to go spend the rest of their life in prison. I'm sure they're going to try to fight to overturn that, but still, it's high risk and high reward. And these guys were highly rewarded, but it's a price to pay, and they had to pay with their life. The DEA investigation of the drug ring uncovered a massive operation that began in 2006 and continued until late 2010. Like I said, the average time of balling is 3 years. Some people go longer, some people go less. So here you see it says 2006 and it continued until late 2010. That's really not a long time. That's why I teach investments. That's why I teach about finances. We want to make investments that grow in value over time. What our money going to be looking at 20 years from now. See, I always look at the cash flow. I don't look at how much money they actually have stashed away. I always look at the cash flow because that's how Wall Street operates. If you go look at Wall Street, it's all about cash flow, capitalism. How can we stretch our dollars 20 and 30 years? That's the thing. We can look like we balling at the moment, but can that money last 20 and 30 years? In my opinion, the middle name of money is burn. We spend a lot of time letting our money tell us what to do. You got to get to the point where you're telling your money what to do. I don't like my money sitting still. I want my money working at all times. I want my money working while I'm asleep. That's the mindset I got. And I got a round table of people that keep me up on my toes, straight motivation. The Powell brothers and 11 others operated a drug organization which dealt in multi-kilogram quantities of marijuana, heroin, and cocaine in Detroit metropolitan area. The members of the organization would arrange from large amounts of money derived from sales of drugs to be transported to Phoenix, Arizona, Mexico, and elsewhere for the purpose of purchasing more controlled substances. When you start crossing those lines, those state lines, that's where the DEA and federal agents start coming in, because I work in the financial sector. They look for money laundering, and one of the signs to that is when you're making large deposits. They're always looking for people with big transactions, large deposits. So once you start transferring money, wire transferring and all that, definitely federal. As a part of the conspiracy, the members of the organization would use semi-trucks, and vehicles equipped with traps and hidden compartments to transport marijuana, cocaine, and heroin, as well as cash generated from the sales of these drugs. The drug ring which was one of the largest in Metro Detroit history, also laundered in excess of $21 million in U.S. currency. Since 2006, law enforcement officers from across the country have seized over 12 kilograms of cocaine, 30 kilograms of heroin, and 1,000 pounds of marijuana destined for distribution by this organization. More than $21 million in cash was seized by law enforcement officers between June 2010 and November 2010 alone. That's a lot of money to get seized in that small amount of time, 21 million. Yeah, they had $100 million cash flow. Like I said, I always look at the cash flow, Law enforcement also seized jewelry appraised at over $800,000, 8 pieces of real property in Michigan and Georgia, valued in excess of $750,000, 10 vehicles, including a 2004 Rolls Royce, 2006 and 2008 Bentley, a 2006 Ferrari, 4 Mercedes, and a Range Rover and 2 boats. Yeah, they was living a life. They definitely was living a life with these proceeds, And these guys, they was involved in some type of religious thing. I think they were Muslims, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe they was heavily into their religion, The members of this organization would deposit large amounts of cash derived from the sales of drugs into various bank accounts. That's why I say that's a dead giveaway. They sitting there looking at, that's one of the top things they look at. They look and see these large deposits in these banking in these accounts, They definitely look at that. And what makes it even more bad, you start turning that money into cashier checks and money orders and wire transfer in these funds, all that stuff can be used against you in court. So, and I understand, because you're dealing with a lot of money. That's one of the things when it comes to business, and why I look at Wall Street, because it's all about moving money around. That's what these guys were doing. They had a big cash flow, so they had to move money around. This case was investigated by special agents of the DEA, Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Office of Homeland Security Investigations, with the assistance of officers from Northville Township Police Department, Plymouth Township Police Department, Warren Police Department, Redford Police Department, Macomb County Sheriff's Office, Detroit Police Department, and the Michigan State Police. That's a lot of agencies to be on this group like that. I don't even think they was on BMF like that. So these guys had a really large organization going on. And actually, when they were getting ready to get sentenced, or they had to go to one of the proceedings, they just disappeared. They went on the lam. They started running. Eventually getting caught, but they went on the run. They fled, they got caught, they got life. 2 drug kingpin brothers who went on the lam just before their guilty verdicts were read were sentenced to life in prison today for running what the government called one of the largest drug rings in Metro Detroit history. Yeah, that's what it said. These guys went on the run, and I believe another high-ranking member, he ended up getting caught later on. But yeah, these guys are doing it big. They had a big, heavy cash flow. They lived a life of luxury. Like I said, it's high risk and high reward. Welcome to the family business. Another case where you have family members creating these empires. It's interesting. I guess you go with your family because that's who you trust the most. Me personally, I would rather not have my brother involved in that game right there, but everybody don't think like me. They lived a life, but now they gotta live that life in prison. And it doesn't seem like these guys were violent. They don't have a lot of murders on their cases or whatever. And I don't think that guys should get life in prison for selling drugs. I really don't. I don't care how much they was pushing. I really don't. That stuff don't warrant a life sentence. I understand it's bad for the community. These guys were not violent, That should be a key factor. Yeah, take all the stuff, all the luxury, you go ahead and seize all that. We'll pay a fine and we'll do some time in prison. Like 30 years, like Big Meech, these guys got life, and it looked like they were doing it bigger than BMF, like literally, But I don't think people should do life in prison. I really hope these guys get out of prison. That's just my personal thought. Leave your comments down there. You know, I will try to address and chat with you guys down in the comment section. Click that subscribe button, click that like button, share this video, family. One love.